For months, the world watched a deadly chess game between Israel and Iran. Proxy wars in Gaza and Lebanon. Hezbollah's decapitation in November 2024. Iranian missile strikes. Israeli retaliation. But Operation Rising Lion changed everything. This wasn't tit-for-tat escalation. It was strategic decimation. In the first hours, Israel eliminated Iran's chief of staff, the Revolutionary Guards commander, nuclear scientists, and military coordinators. The Islamic Republic's leadership structure was shattered in a single, coordinated assault. Benjamin Netanyahu had talked about this moment for years, the existential threat of Iranian nuclear weapons. But why now? Why risk regional war when nuclear negotiations were just days away? The answer reveals everything about modern warfare, political timing, and the calculation of acceptable losses. Mohammad Bagheri was everything Iran's hardliners weren't. As chief of staff of Iran's entire armed forces, both Revolutionary Guards and regular army, he commanded respect across ideological lines. But his crime wasn't military, it was moderation. In April 2025, standing before the ancient ruins of Persepolis, Bagheri delivered a speech that shocked Iran's establishment. He called for peace. He urged avoidance of war. In a regime built on resistance and confrontation, such words were borderline treasonous. Israeli intelligence had identified Bagheri as a potential bridge to diplomatic solutions. His elimination wasn't just tactical, it was strategic. By killing the one Iranian leader who might negotiate, Israel ensured that only hardliners would remain to respond. Escalation became inevitable. If Bagheri represented Iran's diplomatic potential, Hossein Salami embodied its militant reality. As commander-in-chief of the Revolutionary Guards, he was the enforcer of Iran's resistance ideology. His rhetoric was fire and brimstone, literally. "We will open the gates of hell," he declared just weeks before his death, threatening total war if Israel or America attacked Iran. Salami had commanded proxy wars across the Middle East, coordinated with Hezbollah, and planned missile strikes on Israeli territory. His assassination wasn't just removing an enemy, it was eliminating Iran's most capable military strategist. The man who knew every proxy network, every weapons cache, every operational detail of Iran's regional empire. With Salami dead, that institutional knowledge died with him. Amir Ali Hajizadeh controlled the weapons that kept Israel awake at night. As commander of the IRGC's aerospace force, he oversaw Iran's massive missile program, thousands of ballistic missiles capable of reaching Tel Aviv from Iranian soil. Israeli intelligence tracked him to an underground command center where he was meeting with Air Force commanders to plan another attack on Israel. The timing was perfect. Iran's entire missile leadership gathered in one location, planning the next escalation. But Hajizadeh carried personal baggage that made him vulnerable. In 2020, he took responsibility for shooting down Ukrainian Flight 752, killing all 176 passengers. The Iranian public never forgave him. His death would generate less sympathy than other commanders, a calculated choice by Israeli planners. 6 nuclear scientists died alongside the military commanders. Fareydun Abbasi, former head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization. Mohammad Mehdi Tehranchi, university president and nuclear researcher. Ahmad Reza Zolfagari and Amir Hossein Feki, both professors at Shahid Beheshti University's nuclear engineering department. These weren't political targets, they were Iran's atomic brain trust, the knowledge base that could turn 60% enriched uranium into deliverable nuclear weapons. By eliminating them, Israel decapitated Iran's nuclear program more effectively than bombing facilities. Facilities can be rebuilt, equipment can be replaced, but decades of scientific expertise cannot be easily recovered. Israel had learned from previous assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists. Human knowledge is the most valuable and irreplaceable component of any weapons program. November 2024. Israel decapitated Hezbollah's leadership in Lebanon, eliminating Hassan Nasrallah and his entire command structure. The result? Hezbollah's collapse as an effective fighting force. Operation Rising Lion used the same playbook on a much larger scale. The specific building strikes in Tehran mirrored the targeted assassinations in Beirut's southern suburbs. Intelligence-driven, surgically precise, systematically devastating. Israel had perfected the art of organizational decapitation, but Iran wasn't Hezbollah. The Islamic Republic had 80 million citizens, a standing military, and regional proxies across the Middle East. The question wasn't whether the decapitation strategy would work. It was whether Iran's retaliation would be manageable or catastrophic. Iran faced an impossible choice: escalate and risk total war with superior Israeli military technology. Don't escalate and appear weak to domestic hardliners and regional proxies. Either way, Netanyahu had won. With their best commanders dead and nuclear program decapitated, Iran's military options were severely limited. Proxy networks like Hezbollah were already degraded. Missile forces had lost their strategic coordinator. Nuclear leverage was diminished, but not responding wasn't an option either. The Revolutionary Guards demanded revenge. Hardline clerics called for retaliation, and regional allies watched to see if Iran would defend itself or accept humiliation. The domestic pressure for escalation was overwhelming. Iran's regional empire depended on proxy forces across the Middle East: Hezbollah in Lebanon, Houthis in Yemen, militias in Iraq, Hamas remnants in Gaza. All watched Iran's response to gauge whether their patron was still worth supporting. Weakness breeds abandonment. If Iran couldn't protect its own leadership, how could it protect proxy fighters in distant countries? The perception of strength mattered more than actual capability in the proxy relationship ecosystem. But activating proxies meant expanding the conflict beyond Iran-Israel to regional war. Every proxy attack would invite Israeli retaliation against Iranian territory. The escalation spiral could quickly become uncontrollable. Benjamin Netanyahu faced his own domestic pressures: corruption trials, coalition instability, public protests. War has always been Netanyahu's political salvation, uniting Israelis around security concerns rather than domestic failures. But this operation was different. Previous conflicts were reactive, responding to Hamas attacks or Hezbollah provocations. Operation Rising Lion was proactive, choosing war rather than accepting diplomacy. The political risks were enormous. If Iran's retaliation was devastating, Netanyahu would be blamed for unnecessary escalation. If regional war erupted, he'd be responsible for the consequences. But if Iran's response was limited and manageable, Netanyahu would be hailed as the strategic genius who permanently degraded Iran's threat. Israeli intelligence claimed Iran had enough fissile material to produce 15 nuclear bombs within days. Whether accurate or convenient justification, the claim created urgent timeline pressure for preemptive action. 60% enriched uranium can be quickly enriched to weapons-grade 90%. With nuclear scientists eliminated, Iran's breakout capability was significantly reduced. But the fissile material remained, hidden, protected, and potentially transferable to proxy groups. The nuclear timeline had become a countdown to conflict. Every day Iran retained weapons-grade material was another day Israel couldn't tolerate. Diplomacy required time. Military action required immediate results. Netanyahu chose immediate results. In 6 hours, Israel had eliminated Iran's entire military leadership. 4 decades of revolutionary ideology, years of nuclear development, decades of regional influence, all decapitated in a single morning. Benjamin Netanyahu had calculated perfectly. Moderates eliminated, hardliners isolated, nuclear timeline disrupted, diplomatic solutions destroyed. Israel eliminated its immediate threat. But in doing so, it may have created the conditions for regional war that makes the eliminated threat seem manageable by comparison. What do you think? Did Netanyahu's calculated risk pay off, or did he create more problems than he solved? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more analysis of the moments that reshape the world.